connectivity. Get the Zoom link.
Okay. All right. Brazos County Commissioners Court will conduct a public hearing on Tuesday, September the 12th, 2023 at 9:45 in the Commissioners Courtroom in the County Administration Building, 200 South Texas Avenue. Chapter 296 of the Texas Health and Safety Code, HB 3185, allows Brazos County to collect a mandatory payment from non-public hospitals to be deposited in a local provider participation fund, LPPF, established by the county. The county will hear public comments concerning the LPPF, including the collection of the data required to continue the LPPF, establishing a mandatory payment for the period October 1, 2023 to September 30, 2024. The amount of the fiscal year mandatory payments for review derived from those mandatory payments and rules adopted by Brazos County to implement the HB 3185, including fiscal year for LPPF. Representatives of local non-public hospitals and other interested parties are invited to attend said hearing and present their cause, if any, for or against these matters. Nina.
Good morning. How are y'all?
Good morning,
Nina.
I don't know if anybody has signed in yet for the hospitals, but I want to go ahead and give a little update regarding what the LPPF is, or Local Provider Partnership, for the new members on the court. Back in 2013, there was a legislative session that came down regarding local governments receiving approval for the Texas legislature to operate what we call local partnership, provider partnership, which is the LPPF. What this fund does, it helps, it's like a supplemental and direct payment program for uncompensated care. So last Tuesday or 2 weeks ago, there was an agenda item for uncompensated care, or CHIRP. What it is funding that the hospitals pay to the government, to the local providers, which is Brazos County, and then we send up to Health and Human Services to redistribute to hospitals once they have met their requirements. And it could be regarding Medicaid requirements or women's health requirements, that sorts of thing. what they do is they require us to tax them a certain rate, but it cannot be more than 6%. What our third-party company or contractor, Adelanto, they required us to set a 6% tax rate, which is seen on the screen, which will bring in additional $39 million to the Local Provider Partnership Fund. This fund can only be used for IGTs, which is intergovernmental transfers back and forth to the hospitals or to Health and Human Services to the state. It cannot be used for any other purpose. Now, we do transfer $20,000 for our services to help manage these funds. And so in the budget, there's $20,000 that will be transferred from the LPPF fund to the general fund for the county services to manage it. Once this rate is adopted, which is on the agenda at 10 o'clock, the county auditor will send invoices out to the hospitals listed, and they could pay annually or they could do quarterly payments. We have it set up as quarterly because sometimes look at the amount, it's easier to come up with the quarterly amount, and they'll send it to us. HHSC during the year will send us what they call upcoming IGTs or intergovernmental transfers based on the requirements that the hospitals have passed or their criteria for us to send, to the state, and they can redistribute out to several hospitals. Within these hospitals, it's not just for Brazos County. It can be up in Dallas, whatever area for for CHI or for Baylor Scott and White. If they're under their contract, they're able to receive a portion of these funds after they met the criteria. Any other? You have questions?
There were a couple of pronouns there. The 6%, who taxes who collects what?
So the state sets a requirement, and for us it's 6% based on what we're going to, based on the estimate that we're going to have to send up this next year regarding IGTs. And so 6% is the mandatory highest rate. Last year I think it was at 5.6%, I believe. I don't have it with me, but this year it's going to be 6%. And so the Brazos County taxes them. They submit the payments, and then we send it up to HHSC, and they distribute to whatever hospital is needing.
What are they taxing 6%?
They're taxing the annual, it's a net patient revenue based on reporting on the hospitals. And so the state. Oh.
I'm trying to get it for the folks at home.
Oh, yes. So the state reviews their annual net patient revenue, and that's how they come up with the amount for each hospital.
And then when they send the money back to the hospitals for them to use?
Based on whatever requirements they stated they were going to use. And it could be several. When it first started, I think the county was more involved on the criteria on what the hospitals were going to do or help select them. It could be like mammograms or wellness checkups, but it has to be on more of Medicaid purposes.
Does indigent care come into any of that?
It depends on their criteria.
Okay.
I mean, I hadn't talked to Tim Ottinger in quite some time, and I guess Don Lee is still with Adelanto.
I'm not in contact with him.
Okay.
There might be several different areas.
But otherwise known as 1115 waivers.
Yes.
Is what this is. And it's the way that the state of Texas handles Medicare and Health and Human Services as opposed to expanding Medicare.
Yes, sir.
And then there was a schedule of the amount, the money comes from here, it goes to Health and Human Services, and that draws down more money than what goes to them to help with uncompensated care. But then there was a schedule over which that would diminish over the years, and I believe we're getting kind of close to the end of that schedule. I know that a couple of years ago, the Biden administration was out to get rid of 1115 waivers in the program, and then there was a little tense moment there, but then it's there. But this is a diminishing pool of reimbursement that the hospitals, that these care providers can get, but they're still on board with being able to do this so they can at least get a little bit of money?
Yes, every year we ask if there's going to be an end date in the near future, and no end date. Which is fine, because the hospitals do, need help regarding on
There's
compensated
not
care.
currently an end date proposed.
There's not a current end date proposed.
Okay.
Now, some of the programs have diminished, like Disrupt. So we're only taking care of CHIRP, which is a comprehensive hospital increased reimbursement program, as well as the UC uncompensated care. Those are the two programs that the Brazos County will send IGTs for.
And Mike, I'll get an update from Tim and from.
Tim retired in
Donna.
Tim
March.
retired, and there's
Yeah,
been a ruling starting in June this year that we used to have contracts with the hospitals, and in those contracts, there were satellite hospitals, and so that diminished. And so some of our contracts have went away.
Tim may be retired, but Tim will know.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
So okay.
He might not answer the
Super.
phone.
I'll have.
I don't know if, has anybody walked in from anybody representing the hospitals? Are there any other questions regarding the local provider partnership fund?
I don't have any.
Okay.
Okay, since there's no public comment on it, and there's not a representative today from the hospital here, so at this point, we will close the public hearing, and it's 9:55. And y'all can get ready then for the 10 o'clock meeting.